Hello everyone. So today we are going to implement the inventory, collecting these items into the inventory. So when I press I, we can bring up the inventory. Nothing is here at the moment. So if I walk up to this object and collect it, we get this R to rotate, E to leave, F to collect. If I press R, character simply just rotate it and inspect. If I press F, it is collected to the inventory. Now when I press I, you can see that object in the inventory. If I select it, it shows its name. It's a bracelet, the description, a bracelet that can wear in your hand. Right. Now if I go here and collect this cube as well, and let me collect that one also. So now when I press I, see that cube is also here. If I click on it, you can see cube, it's just a shiny cube. So yeah, now both items are collected into our inventory. So this is what I'm going to do today. And this episode is sponsored by this generous patron. Thank you very much for your support. Okay, so far in this inventory system we have implemented these buttons and this basic structure, and when I click, it shows the description of that particular item. So right now I only added this inventory to show up at the beginning only for testing purposes. So I'm gonna open up the level blueprint and disconnect that part, but I'll leave it as inventory test here. Oh, this is tips test. And also from the inventory, I already have these buttons in the grid panel. So I'm going to delete all of these test element as well. This test elements. Right, and remove this part as well. Okay. Oh well, this is completely collapsed. That's not actually not the way I need it. Alright, let's set this to fill. Okay. Right, now when I play the game, I first have, as initially, before implementing the inventory, I have this press C to inspect. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is, when I inspect this, I should get a notification. Oh, wait, where is that notification? Ah yeah, I get that notification here. Press C to inspect, and if I inspect, I get this press R to rotate and press C to leave. So here I need another key to add to inventory, add this object to inventory. So we need another input for that. Let me go to project settings. Input, we have turn, thoughts, interact, R, T, E. Let's use F. And the key, key should be F. Action should be collect. Okay. So now let me open this blueprint, and this is the notification we get. Press E to R to rotate and E to leave. So we need another action here, E to leave, or let's say F to collect. Input, finish input style to collect. Now here we need to get the button for collection. We can use the get input keys here. Action is collect. Right, let's check. R to rotate, E to leave, or F to collect. Okay, so at the moment when I press F, nothing happens. So actually what needs to happen is when I press F, this object should be destroyed and some entry that represents this object should be added to the inventory. Right, so how do we do that? Right, first we need to define, we need some structure to hold the data of the inventory item that represents this object. So for that, I think we would need a custom data structure. Let's call it struct inventory item. Right, so first of all it should have a name in the type of text, then it should have a description that also should be in the type of name. Here what I'm defining is these things, name, description, and also we need to have some icon, and that should be in the type of, let's see, this is an image, set brush from texture. Okay, texture 2D, right. Image, this should be texture 2D. Right, so as the default values, I'll add item name, item description. As the texture, I'll just add this rock texture. Okay, and now in the interactable object, I'll add that I'll add a variable in the type of struct inventory item. So let's call it inventory item. Okay, so I'll make this public so we can change it from outside. So I have already imported this cylinder icon and a box icon. So I'm gonna put cylinder icon as the icon, and as the item name, let's say this is, I don't really have a name for this, let's call it bracelet. As the description, let's say a bracelet can wear in your hand. Okay, that's obvious because it's a bracelet. Right, now in here, leave object and take object. Right, now just like this start interaction under BPI interactable, I'll add another function, collect. So here what needs to happen is this item should be collected into the player's inventory. Okay, so now we can implement collect event here. But first we need to implement, in order to use this, we need to implement the collect input action also. Right, here let's implement collect. So what needs to happen is when we try to collect, we should be playing one of the montages. So yeah, well actually let's just first we need to check if we have an interactable object. Can do a valid check. If yes, we can call collect on that object, and here we might need a reference to the inventory of the character, but at the moment we don't really have an inventory blueprint or after component or anything. So let's go ahead and implement one. Blueprint. This should, I think this should work as a actor component, because inventory is sort of like a component of a character. PP inventory. Okay, now let me open it. In the inventory there should be an array items. This should be in the type of inventory item, not just a variable, it should be an array. Right, now in the BP interactable interface we can give a reference here in the type of BP inventory. Okay, now here let's add the inventory component to the character so we can give a reference. Okay, now in the BP interactable, where is collect? Right here we can get items and add inventory item to that list, and then we can stop So yeah, we already have a reference to the interacting character. Yes. Get mesh and yeah, stop montage. Don't need to access mesh specifically. We can call stop and montage, so it will stop the hold in object pose, and then we can simply delete this item, so this interactable object. So to do that, we can set lifespan of this item, this object, to something like this. Right, shall we see what happens? Okay, F pressed. Right, oh sorry, we need to go back to the usual camera as well. And after that, let's set lifespan to 1 and connect to leave, no, not leave object. Alright, here we have toggle inspect view. Toggle inspect view set to false. Right, let's see now. Okay, when I press F, now I am in the usual mode. Okay, now how can I check if I have that data in my inventory? Can we debug this? I can't. Well, we don't really have a way to see that without doing some print string or something, but I think it should be saved into that inventory item array. Right, now let's implement a function to show the inventory. For that also we need another input. We have, let's use I. Let's call it show inventory or toggle inventory. I'm gonna use the key I. Okay, so we have the code like me HUD. Let me open it, and here under BPI HUD, let's add a function toggle HUD, sorry, not HUD, toggle inventory. Let's add input. Show hide. If it is true, we need to show it. If it is false, we need to hide it. Okay. Now here toggle inventory. Let's implement the true case first. So we need to create widget from inventory using inventory widget, and let's promote it to a variable wdg inventory. Now in the second time we don't need to create it if we already have a inventory widget. So it's valid. If not, we need to create. Otherwise we can just use it. Is in viewport. We can check. If it is not in the viewport, we can, let's add a reference here, so easier. We can add to viewport. And also when we open up the inventory, we need to change the input mode to UI as well. So if we call this with a false, we still have to do this check. If valid, we can just call this and remove from parent. Okay. So to change the input mode, let's add a custom event here. Set input mode set UI input mode. Okay, get player controller, set input mode. Let's set it to UI only for now. And also show mouse cursor. Let's add another function. Set game input mode. Game only, and hide the cursor. Here set game input mode, and here set UI input mode. Right. Now when we press I, we need to call toggle inventory. But in order to initialize the inventory, we need to get access to the player's inventory component. Let's look into that later. First, let's set up this connection from player character toggle in inventory here. Let's get player controller get HUD toggle inventory. Let's call it with a true. Right, now when I press I, we get the inventory, but nothing is there. So when I press back, the inventory should be closed. Back. We can get player controller, get HUD toggle inventory, call it with a false. Now the inventory should be closed when I press back. Right, and it works as usual. Okay. Now let's implement a way to show up this collected item inside the inventory. So for that, in the WDG inventory, let's add a custom event. Init items. Now here we need to access players below players inventory item list. So here VPI character, let's add a new function, get inventory. This should return PP inventory reference. Now let's implement it. Here we have get inventory. We can return a reference like this. Okay, now here we can get player character get inventory from the inventory. We can access items and we can run a for each loop on the items. So for each item we have to create an inventory item widget and initialize it with this data: name, description and image. Let me collapse it. So for each item here we need to create widget using inventory item. Then let's promote it to a variable. Let's call it temp item. We need to initialize with this init item button. I think we need to modify this init to custom event a little bit. Let me break this, and instead of getting name and description separately, I'll add a item structure, struct inventory item. Now from this, let's call it item data. From this we can access name, description, and inventory reference. It should come as it is, and also the item icon. We can set brush from asset from texture. Okay, now we can use this init item button from the inventory widget. Inventory self item data, we can simply pass this element. Okay, now we need to add this newly created temp item as a child object of this grid panel. Let's rename this items grid, and I'll make it a variable. A child temp item. So here it returns a panel slot. Column. We should be able to access this as slot. No, not that. Here, slot as grid slot. Then we need to set column, because when we have multiple items we need to set a column and the row. Set row. So how do we calculate the column number and the row number? Well, we know that we can only have 6 items in a horizontal line. So this one, divide by 6. So that should be the row number and this index. Divide and get the remainder, that means the modulus, by 6. That should be the column. Right. Now we need to call these init items from the HUD when we toggle the inventory widget. the items. Right, now shall we test? Okay, so when we start the game, we don't have anything in the inventory. Right, now let's go here and collect this item, and when I press F, it will be collected into the inventory. And now when I press I, see, we have that cylinder object in the inventory. If I click on here, see, bracelet, the item name is updated and the description is also updated. A bracelet that can wear in your hand. Now when I press back, the inventory will be disappear, but when I press I again, there should be 2 bracelet items. No. Why not? Yeah, actually there should be 2 bracelet items because let me go to the inventory item. See, there are 2 references in the memory. The reason is when I open the inventory once, here it get created, but this is never destroyed. But when I create the inventory again, it is again created, not destroyed again. So therefore we need to destroy them to prevent that. Even though you don't see 2 elements in the UI because they are overlapping each other. So we can get the items grid. Child, get all children, and run a for each loop. Let me collapse this. Clear items. Can we destroy this? I think remove from parent should be enough. So it must be garbage collector. Actually, I did a quick Google search how to destroy a widget element, but I couldn't find anything specifically that like accurate. Right, anyway, now let's give it a try. Right, have to collect. Press I, we have the widget. Back, press I again, we have the widget. Back, press I again. Okay. Well, we have only 2 references. Right. Anyway, this is actually working. Now same as this item, let's see how to add. Let's test another object. Three items. Collect. We have 1. Go back. collect. Oh wait, why it's not working? Okay, collecting. F, press I, call. We have 2. They are not stacking up, but that's 3 items. Cool. Now let's create a slightly different object. This because these are same objects. Let's create a child baby interactable cube. Why capital A? Right, now here I'll override this object mesh. Instead of cylinder, I'm gonna use a cube. And here let's change the inventory item icon to the box. Let's call it cube. A shiny cube. That's the description. Now let me read this. Put this into a different folder, so easier to manage. Now instead of this one, let's have this. Let's collect both items now. Right, cool. Now we have 2 elements in our inventory. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna stop this episode right here. And as always, project files will be available for the download through the Patreon page. Link would be in the description below. And if you like to support my work, you can get the membership of the Patreon club. Thanks for watching. See you in another episode. Goodbye.